all to the Earthborne Games podcast. I'm your host, Anders Carlson. I'm back. I'm sad that I missed the live show. I don't remember what my excuse was, but it was real. It was a real excuse.
You were tired. You were tired.
I was sleepy. No, there is something. My sister was in town. I don't know. Whatever. I didn't watch it, though. How did it go? I'm going to ask you all. Evan's with us. The whole crew's with us, except for Fisher, actually. Evan, how was the live show?
Oh, it was good. It's funny you asked me because I ended up having to leave before everyone.
Oh yeah, I remember you texted me during the show, like, how do you leave?
Yeah. Well, I was afraid because of that one time after we wrapped up recording a podcast and you like quickly messaged me like, like trying to, because you couldn't recover like my audio recording or something or my video.
Right.
So I'm always paranoid of that now. So, but yeah, it went good.
You did your diligence. Yeah, how was it like? I'll ask the next portion to Maxine. Maxine Newman, welcome to the show. And what was it like interacting with people? Did that work out?
Yeah, it was good. It was really cool to take live questions and people to answer them like on the spot instead of like weeks later. Yeah, it was good. I thought it went really smoothly. Aside from the technical difficulties at the very beginning.
Oh, there were.
We weren't sure when we were live.
Okay.
Because it wasn't like immediately when we clicked like go live. So
I see.
There was like a delay. So
I'll welcome Andrew Navarro to the show as well. Hey, Andrew.
Hi, Anders. Yeah, it was fun.
Cool.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was we deliberately did more of like a discussion topic, like a kind of open discussion topic in the middle, and that was really cool because we were able to bring the listeners on along with that discussion and have an immediate back and forth. That was super cool. And then I think near the end, we were like, yeah, this went great. And then as soon as we said that, the stream died.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So with like 5 minutes left, maybe the stream died.
Okay.
Yeah. So it wasn't terrible, but we didn't really have a good like sign off at the end. So we had to re-upload it later with the full recording.
Nice.
But I'd love to do it again. I thought it was fun. Since we're doing this on a Friday afternoon, I had a moment where I was like, maybe we should just do it live.
Oh yeah.
But I don't think we should do that ad hoc. We should probably plan for that.
Well, it's basically live. If you're watching this on Friday night, we recorded it Friday afternoon after working our day jobs. I mean, you guys have Earthborne day jobs.
This is my day job.
Yeah,
that's right. I have. Well, unlike some people, I work for a living.
Ouch.
Not really. If you saw me at my job, you'd laugh. But I'm sorry I missed the 50. I can't believe it's been 50 episodes of this.
I know. Well, we were sorry to miss you too.
Yeah,
but
I'm the most important part of the show.
That's right. Well, we'll do maybe like at 75. We'll do another big one.
How long did it take us to get to 50? Like year and a half?
Yeah, a little over 2 years.
February 23. Did we start? Yeah. Dang.
And we actually we have a couple of like 0.5 episodes, so
true.
Technically we have episode 0. So all those together, it was really like, I don't know, maybe like the 54th.
Yeah, this is the 50th. Many more to come.
That's right.
I don't know. It's only been 3 episodes for me, so
right. Yeah,
that's right. Right. It's the we'll set the calendar now, like with a
AM,
a BM and AM. Yeah,
BM.
I've probably spoken enough where I've spoken about as much as Fisher or Navarro might in 3 episodes worth of podcasts.
I was going to say
at this
one
point,
episode
after 50.
That's okay, Evan. Me too. I mean, I feel like I barely say anything too. But who cares?
The good questions though.
That's right.
Okay. Mm-hmm. We love everyone, the whole Earthborne podcast family. It's good to be back. I feel like I haven't been here for a while. But I don't know what's going on with the Gamefound. Tell me, what have I missed? Where are we at? Is that thing still going?
Yeah, it is. It is still going. It's kind of like slowed down to a more reasonable pace here in this past, like 4 weeks. But yeah, it's still climbing every day, every week. We're getting close to 2.4 million raised, which is really awesome. Getting close to 13,500 backers, which is a lot of backers. Can you hear this dog?
Yeah.
This dog, this next door dog is not a nice dog.
Next door dog.
No, it's mean. Like, yeah, like, so there's this little road that if any of you watch the playcast, this is the dog that pooped behind me during one of my playcast
No
episodes.
way.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It was pretty amazing. I thought it was pretty funny. But it's mean. Like, so there's this little road that goes past here, and sometimes you need to go down that road to go and like access either like down by the river down here, or like there's this old junked up structure that's behind our house, this old creamery that there's a bunch of junk stored in. Sometimes we need to get stuff out of there. But like, I've taken to carrying our machete with me.
Whoa.
Yeah, I don't have it unsheathed, but I have it just in case. Because this dog it's scary. Like,
what, you like lob off its head?
No, I just kind of I'll just whack, brandish, like look big, but if it attacks me, I don't want to be able to.
Is it a small dog?
Arms,
yeah,
Is
it a tiny dog or
no? It's big.
Wow.
Yeah, it's big, and when it has that really scary, like, baring teeth face when it growls at you.
No.
Yeah.
I used to work as a postal carrier, and I got attacked by a pit bull one time, and well, it didn't get me, but it was trying to get me. And what they teach you to do is just put your mail bag in front of you, and they'll bite that.
Oh,
so just bring like a mail bag.
Yeah. Did that work? Is that what you did?
Yeah. So I remember I was listening to Joanna Newsom in my headphones. You know that singer? Very lovely, like harp music. I was listening to it, and there's when you're setting up your route for the day. I was kind of like a temporary guy, so I'd have a different route every day. And they put cards in there, little warnings, like there's a dog at this next house. So you'd put them in the route when you're setting up your route. So when you're approaching the next house, it'll be like, warning, crazy dog here. And I saw that, and as I was walking between the houses, I looked in the back. I saw two pit bulls in a cage, in their kennel, barking like hell at me. And one of them just instantly just burst the door open and just like charged at me. And I had this beautiful like harp music playing in my ears, and I was like, "Help!" And I remember like this dude painting next door. I remember it very well. He was just watching, like, yeah, this happens. But I just put my bag in front of me, and it just was like ripping at my bag.
The training.
And the moment I got out of the yard, it just left me alone. It just kind of like turned around and went back. But mailbag.
Terrifying.
It was. I hated.
Are there any notes that are like that indicate whether like a person actually collects their mail out of the mailbox or not? Like, hey, these guys, they just let the mailbox get overflowed.
True, yeah, it'll be like, yeah, they would be notes like that. Yeah,
I feel like I'm that guy sometimes. I wonder if there's a note about me.
Do you have a tiny little mail slot, or do you have an actual mailbox?
It's a tiny little, aluminum box.
Oh, yeah.
Just gets filled up with junk mail.
Most mailboxes are not up to date for the modern, mail that we get. That was what I hated most of it, like cramming stuff into those little tiny slots on the side of people's houses.
Yeah.
And they like subscribe to like 10 magazines that all come on the same day, and you're just trying to like cram them in there. They're just sticking out. It's a fun job. Anyway. 2.4 mil.
Yeah, so the Gamefound campaign's continuing to do well. We are very, very close to opening the Pledge Manager. We have it pretty much ready to go. I have all the... we've done all the steps, and James at Naylor Games, he's pretty much prepped the entire thing for us, ready to submit for approval. We just need to do some back end work. Well, not we, but the fine people at Gamefound need to do some back end work to set up the pledge manager, because we're merging the old Kickstarter backers with the Gamefound backers. So all the returning backers who are coming to who and then back to the new Gamefound, we're merging all that information together so that the people who backed Legacy of the Ancestors in the first campaign, when they go into their pledge manager, once it launches, when they go into their account, they'll already have Legacy of the Ancestors set up in their cart. And in addition to that, they're also going to be getting a credit towards shipping. So Gamefound needs to do all the work by hand. So hopefully they'll have that done next week, and we'll be able to launch next week. So that's the hope. So as of recording, it's April 19th. So hopefully by the into next week, which we'll put that on the 26th. Hopefully by like April 26th, it'll be up and running, which is pretty exciting. And for those of you curious as to how long the pledge manager will stay open, we are planning on closing it on June 18th. So roughly 2 months it'll be open. And that is my Gamefound update.
And what does it have to reach for Fisher to, what is he going to do?
2.5 million. I me13 it's practically there already.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, it's basically 2.5.
Yeah. With 13,000 backers, you could just do like the rough math.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it was $10 in shipping for everybody, like it's already going to do it. And it's going to be more than that.
Yeah.
So, yep. So Fisher's hair is gone. He should have set it at. We should set some other goal for like 3 million.
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, if for some reason it doesn't get to 2.5, he should at least shave half his hair off or something. In any way he wants, he could do like a joke bald spot, or he could just do half, hair one hemisphere.
Yeah,
proportionally to the amount of money.
Yeah,
I think that would be like the 3.5. So it's like the 3 million. It's at 2.5, he'd just shave his head, but if we got up to 3, she would shave like half of his head. That would be more ridiculous.
I'm pretty sure 3 was gluing it to Corey's head.
Yeah,
I'll never stop.
I do like that.
I really like that idea.
So he should shave his head at 2.5, save the hair, and then at 3, if we hit it, we'll glue it to Corey's head.
This is starting to sound
Fisher.
too much like a frat.
Yeah.
Frat hazing or something.
Shouldn't I be the one being hazed right now?
Well, Corey's the one who suggested it. I mean, it's not hazing if you say glue his hair to my head.
That's true.
But it's some sort of weird German hazing when you suggest it for yourself.
Hey man, Germans listen to this.
I know. I'm just thinking of that. What's that?
Schadenfreude.
Yeah, that's it. That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah.
That's why it's German. Well, it's time for the Maxine report.
The Maxine report.
Yeah, you've been here for like a month, right? Or how long now?
Longer than that. It was what? Beginning of April? No, end of May.
End of May.
Sorry,
March?
end of March. Actually, it wasn't even end of March. It was like beginning of March.
So a couple months?
I don't remember. Yeah, I think it's been like a couple months. Yeah.
See, it's so contiguous, like you didn't even notice a difference. It's
honestly, yeah, it kind of just flowed like right in, kind of dove right in head first.
Well, what you been doing so far?
I've been doing a lot of different things. I think right now the primary thing that I've been doing is just gaining as much familiarity with the game as possible. It's a different beast, like working on a game that you weren't there from the beginning, like I was with Arkham. So I'm playing as much as possible. I'm getting as much familiarity with the style and with like the language and with the gameplay.
Yeah.
And we've been playing through Legacy of the Ancestors, like we mentioned last time, and basically just making notes and making little tweaks here and there. And I've also been, I've been working on some new moments for the moments on the path, which is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And the other cool thing is I've heard some people in the community asking if they can get a new one-day mission. So I'm working on a one-day mission.
That's right.
Cool.
I have the tab for that mission up on my internet browser, waiting for me to review it. I have not had a chance to read it yet.
It's just a concept for now, but
it's very fleshed out. It's a very detailed concept. If it is just a concept, but yeah, I think we'll probably have a new one-day mission for people pretty soon.
I think that'd be pretty cool. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And other than that, just writing up some stuff for future content, and maybe some other things that we can't talk about.
I don't know if there's anything that we can't talk about. I think because because everyone knows that we're working on an RPG.
Mm-hmm.
I guess everyone knows about Legacy of the Ancestors. We know that we're working on stuff after that. We haven't really detailed what those things are, but those are things that we're working on.
Yeah, there are things besides Legacy that I'm working on. Yeah. But it's all very much at the conceptual stage at this point.
Yeah. I think that'll really start to take off once we pretty much like lock down everything for print. So not much longer now, about a month and a half. So then we'll be full bore into the new stuff.
I'm so excited.
Yeah. So, Maxine, does this remind you at all about when you came on board at FFG to start working on Lord of the Rings? Is it a similar kind of experience, or you played that enough leading in where it felt like you were more familiar with it from the start?
Lord of the Rings, I was pretty intimately familiar with Lord of the Rings by the time that I joined FFG, because I had already been making like custom content online, like just as a fan, you know? Mm-hmm. And also that experience was very different because I was hired for a very singular purpose at the time, and that was nightmare decks. Mm-hmm. And they were like, "You're going to be working on nightmare decks. Am I going to be working on anything else? We'll see. For now, nightmare decks." And I mean, my first day at FFG was very much like they sat me down at my computer, and then just went, "Well, get to work." Just walked away, and I was like, "All right."
Who did that to you? Who did that?
It was Michael Hurley.
Sounds about right. Yeah, that's hilarious.
It was pretty great. But thankfully, I had Nate and Caleb there, like acting as mentor figures, and also pretty quickly got into some of the other products that they were working on. So, but this is different because there's so many different products kind of all happening sort of contiguously, simultaneously. So, kind of, it's nice. I never kind of get stuck on one thing. I'm working on a lot of different things at the same time and bouncing back and forth, which is kind of how I like to work. So
nice. Did you? So they never you guys didn't finish the nightmare decks in my absence, did you?
Unfortunately, we didn't. We stopped doing them.
So close.
I want to say we got all the way through the 6th or 7th cycle, and then had to stop because they just weren't making as much money anymore as they were originally.
Yeah. Well, I remember having to do that that kind of cost analysis on the nightmare decks, and like it was pretty clear, like after a certain point it was like, these are costing us way more money than we're making.
yeah At a certain point, like if you count development hours, it was like,
yes,
we're basically losing money on them. And it's unfortunate that we couldn't round them out and finish the whole set, but there was still a lot left. Like, that game ended with 9 cycles, which is a lot.
Yeah.
But boy, were they a blast to work on.
Yeah, Anders. So, if in case you're wondering what in the world we're talking about,
I was going to ask.
So, the Lord of the Rings was Lord of the Rings, the card game, was the that was on my list of my top 5 most influential games. Mm-hmm. Because obviously, like there would not be Earthborne Rangers without Lord of the Rings, the card game.
For sure.
So that was a game that it was like kind of like the first like really big co-op LCG style game. There's definitely been, co-op card games before, but it was kind of the first big one of this model. And right when Maxine joined, or shortly before Maxine joined, like the popularity of that thing was just exploding. And in true Fantasy Flight Games fashion, Christian was like, we need more things for this as much as we possibly can. So we started to develop these card packs that people who already owned various scenarios could like add these cards to their scenarios and take some cards out to make them more difficult. Which seemed crazy to me because that game was already super hard.
It was already pretty hard, yeah.
From my point of view. But then we ended up doing like these things they were called nightmare decks, and we did one effectively for every single adventure that we had published up to that point, and then tried to continue to do them for the rest. And needless to say, it's a lot.
It was a crazy number of SKUs. Like we did a separate deck for every single Mythos pack, or sorry, not Mythos pack, Adventure pack. Still thinking in Arkham terms, which was like 6 per cycle. So when it all adds up, it's like there were so many of these things.
One thing that was hard for the graphic design department to tackle was whenever there was an expansion for Lord of the Rings, there's always like a new card type. And it's like this card, but you have to add a new value somewhere, just encroaching a little bit on the art window, and you have to change the color. Maybe you can make it look gold because this is like a reward or something. And it's but then
that's right.
You're working on a previous graphic designer's work who may be way better than you, or and you're just trying to live up to their vision by adding to it. It's just like it was always stressful.
Oh man.
For what it's worth, I think every new like graphical element that got added in that game looked better and better and better. So in my opinion,
we usually turned it out pretty good, but it's hard to look at those and be like, these things are so heavy, like graphically heavy and stuff. So
yeah, no, I think from the customer's perspective, I don't think anyone knows. Like, it all feels very natural, I think. I think we were able to pull it off. I think that the most challenging one that I remember was the Grey Havens. I think because you designed boat
that was all my
stuff.
fault.
Yeah, it was like, what in the hell are we even doing?
I don't think I worked on that.
That was, oh gosh, who did work on that one? I know Mercedes worked on it.
Yeah, it's probably Mercedes because she was at that point, I think, pretty much the LCG person for ongoing support.
Yeah, that expansion was very ambitious.
So what was your, I'm sorry, now I'm taking over your host. So I'm actually curious because I'm trying to jog my own memory. What was the first like non-Nightmare deck expansion you did for Lord of the Rings?
So I continued to do Nightmare decks while working on this, but the Angmar Awakened cycle.
Okay.
Caleb did the deluxe box for that, which was the Lost Realm, and then I did the adventure packs. So he kind of like started that story, and then he went off to work on the Saga expansions, like Black Riders and the Two Towers and etc. And I took over the rest of that cycle, and then Grey Havens and Dream Chaser was the cycle immediately after that. And then that's pretty much where I stopped. That's where Arkham began at that point.
Cool.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I loved the Lost Realms cover piece. That was one of my favorite pieces that I directed. I love that art. It's so cool.
It's very cool.
Matt Stewart, I think, did that artwork.
Are you talking about the cover for Angmar Awakened?
The Lost Realms is the name of that one.
Oh. It was, so when it got repackaged, they're just calling it the Angmar Awakened campaign. So it's the same cover.
Okay.
But yeah.
Yeah, I love that piece.
That looks awesome.
It's just a big old cool building.
It's a big cool castle. Yeah.
And a snowy mountainscape.
Yeah. It was beautiful.
Very cool.
Well, thanks, Andrew, for taking over as host for that portion.
You're welcome.
You know a lot more than me.
I'm just trying to jog my memory again. It's like I'm curious.
It's crazy that it's been so long.
Yes.
Like I started working in game design 11 and a half years ago. That's mind-blowing to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. Andrew, do you want to talk about Board Game Geek thing? I want to hear about that.
I almost forgotten. I was just starting to think, it was like, man, this year will mark I'm over 20 years in the industry this year, technically.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's wild. It's wild to think of. Yeah, so speaking of our industry, Board Game Geek, let's talk about Board Game Geek.
What happened?
So we had this thing show up. Was it yesterday? 2 days ago? Where Corey on our staff chat on Discord just posted this image of a bunch of like one score reviews on Earthborne Rangers. It's like 6 of them, just all like one right on top of each other, just one. And he was like, this looks like someone just like made a bunch of accounts and then gave us a bunch of ones. Cause they're all from Canada. And like, I went into some of these profiles and they're all brand new. They were just created. What can we do about this? So I was like, man, I don't know. Maybe just reach out and ask them. I think they'll probably say, well, yeah, this stuff just happens. Just deal with it. But the other day, it was yesterday, so I've been going to Board Game Geek way more than I ever have in this past like few months, mostly just because we're on we've been on the hotness for so long. We finally dropped off after being on the hotness for roughly 4 months. We finally fell off a few days ago. And I was actually like relieved. I was like, "Oh, thank goodness! I can stop.
You don't have to check.
I can stop looking.
Yeah.
I don't have to look. I don't have to look to see where we are in the hotness." But I was curious. So like, I tapped into these reviews that were left for us, and looked at some of like the new accounts this person had created. And to see like what the deal is, like why trying to suss out why someone would do this. There's some people who will give people bad reviews give games bad reviews on Board Game Geek because they had a bad customer service experience, so they'll go in and give you one, or like there maybe the Kickstarter fulfillment didn't go as well as they'd like, so they'll go in and they'll give you one. They have some kind of perceived personal beef, and they'll give you a bad review. So Corey was wondering if maybe it was someone like that. He's like, yeah, I've been paying attention to like all the. He's been very on top of communications lately. So he's like, I don't think I'm ignoring anyone or made anyone angry, so I don't really know what the deal is. So I went and just kind of looked to see like these new accounts that were made, like what were the who else was getting reviewed by these new accounts, and what were they getting. So I clicked on one of them, and it had like no board games in their collection, because you can add games to your collection in Board Game Geek and kind of show off everything that you have. They had posted like something in the neighborhood of like 13 total ratings, like 3 10s and like 10 or so 1s. So I tapped in on the 1s, and I'm like, all right, what's here? It was like Us, Oathsworn was on there. Oh God, wasn't it Void Fall? Is that the name of it? Anyway, a bunch of really, I think, what are largely seen as very good games that they were just giving a bunch of 1s to. And then like for their 10s, they give a couple 10s as like Heat, Pedal to the Metal, like the White Castle, and some other Euro. And I was like, well, clearly this is one of those people who's just like, well, this game needs more ones because there's too many 10s. Or this game is rated too high or whatever. But anyway, these like 6, 7 ones we got, like were enough to take us from a 8.3 to an 8.2 on the overall rating. And that's the thing that made Corey real grumpy about it. He wanted to try to do something. And honestly, I just don't think there's anything to do. But it really made me wonder, why does this feature even exist? And why do people put any stock in it whatsoever? If this kind of thing can happen, and maybe this is what all the reviews are, maybe there are some like legit reviews in there. Maybe this person has like a experiment. I was like, maybe you just said, all right, I'm going to make it so that all the games I think are good are 1s and all the games I don't like are 10s. So if you go to my page, if you see a 1, it's good. Because I looked at that list of 1s. I'm like, those are all pretty good games.
Yeah.
So it got me thinking like, all right, well, this is clearly where aggregate score sites, like Metacritic or Rotten Tomatoes come from. Because, theoretically, if you get a large enough data set, it'll drown out all the anomalies like these, people throwing in extra 1s. Or, you have your critic score versus your audience score, and oftentimes those can be quite different. And the audience score can, oftentimes does account for people effectively like review bombing things. So I don't know what the solution is, but I'm curious, like, what you guys think about it. Cause I have like I don't know. I don't want to care about what our rating is, but I do care because it's numbers and there's like a leaderboard, and it's like there's that part of me that just, wants to compete and then see how far we can get, in the race.
It's so weird too. I'm looking at it right now, and like all 5 of these accounts did the same things. They reviewed the same things. What the hell are they doing? It's so weird.
I don't know. I thought maybe it might have something to do with like, because it's like reward season coming up for Board Game Geek. They're doing the Golden Geek Awards.
Yeah.
So vote for Earthborne Rangers for Golden Geek. Or several. That'd be great.
So bizarre.
It is bizarre. So I didn't know if maybe they were like trying to manipulate scores, but some of those games on there have so many scores, that a few 1s isn't going to really move the needle. For us, though, it's pretty impactful because we have like something in the neighborhood of like 1,500 total reviews. So we're still in that range where we're being affected by the weird way that Board Game Geek calculates total scores. Once you have enough actual scores, like you're not really affected by that as much. At least that's the way it's supposed to work. So, but at our size, like getting bombed with a bunch of 1s is bad for our score.
Just send a message to this person.
Like, what's your problem?
I'm just curious. I'm just so curious.
This is
why.
the message.
Yeah. So it's like, it's just, like I said, there's nothing to prevent people from doing it. Like you could theoretically, I could go and make, 1,000 Board Game Geek accounts and give us a bunch of 10s, but why do you care? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So it made me wonder, like, why hasn't anyone created an aggregate score calculator for tabletop games yet? Does one exist? I just don't know about it. It seems like something that should or could exist, and that would probably be a pretty popular website if it did exist. So
maybe that's something that Metacritic will eventually branch out into or something.
Oh yeah, branch out into tabletop games.
Maybe.
Yeah. Maybe, I guess because maybe it's because most board game reviewers, at least that I'm aware of, don't grade things on like a point scale, and things have kind of gotten away from that in the last several years. So
yeah,
which I think is good.
Yeah, but I think you can generally know, like, if something, like if you went from like positive, you can suss out if a review is positive or negative by the content of the review. Oh, yeah. Now I'm thinking, oh man, now someone's just going to have like an AI watch a bunch of videos.
No. Yeah.
and then decide whether something's positive or negative, and just let people know. But I was curious. Like, I have. This is obviously the game that I care about the most, and the one that I was like most involved in the design of. But I have a bunch of other games that I've worked on that are really highly rated, and I have some amount of pride in that, even though I know it's all kind of bogus, which is weird. So yeah, I don't know. How do you guys feel about
it? I think that there's like a subset of people, of like, contrarians, who take it upon themselves to review bomb something when they think that it's like overrated. You know what I mean? Of course, that's obviously just their opinion. But they're like, I'm going to be the person to like fix this in my mind. You know what I mean? And so they do stuff like that, but it's like, you're actually just subverting what should be like a fair system, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I don't understand it myself.
Yeah. Well, what would be the solution, I guess?
Well,
I have no idea.
I mean, I was just going to mention, it's surprising that they don't have some sort of team that can look into these things that you could reach out to on Board Game Geek, because it's very obvious, like the nature of the reviews all occurring at once and stuff. And I feel like it's pretty evident that it was like, I don't know if maybe malicious is too strong of a word, but coordinated. Very obviously, and it's like, well, that's not right. It's not; those aren't reviews; those are just attacks.
Yeah, it's definitely not cool. Not cool. It's not nice. It doesn't really consider like the people behind a thing. That's for sure.
I think like also review scores that are on a scale of 1 to 10 have become like morphed somehow. That like really they're like, if people see a 6 out of 10, 6 out of 10 is actually pretty decent. It's above average, right? But when people see a 6 out of 10, they immediately think, oh, that game is bad.
Right.
When in reality, like, that's not true. A 1 out of 10 game should be something that's like not even playable.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, if you're thinking about it from a scale of 1 to 10,
Yeah.
So they're clearly just trying to. It is malicious, I think.
Yeah, there was a have you seen the a YouTube channel? I think it's called Shelfside.
No.
It's pretty decent. They do board game reviews, but that guy did a video about the Board Game Geek rating system and his perceived problems with it and things that he felt could fix it. And I thought that was pretty interesting. I would recommend googling that up and watching it. So I thought that was pretty good.
Is that just something that he was naturally drawn to, or was there a reason why he decided to look into it?
I think he thought it would be a cool YouTube video that people would watch.
Yeah,
but he did a good job. I think he really dove into it and dissected like that's where I learned how the rating system actually functions. And how we have that, like you have your user score versus like your geek score, and how those two are different. So he was able to. That's where I learned like how that number is, how they come up with that number.
Yeah, I think Board Game Geek, like as a website and as a community, has kind of like a focus or like an obsession on ranking things, like ranking their complexity, ranking different categories, ranking everything. And yeah, I prefer reviews when it's just like, I recommend this, I don't recommend this. Those are my favorite reviews. Like the content of the review actually matters. Instead of just like look to the end of the review for the score and then flip the next page. Like I don't like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, if you can find a critic or someone that you trust and just go off what they like, that's the best.
Yeah.
Because there's, games are so expensive. It's kind of, people want to know what they're buying, I guess, before they invest, maybe. So like, well, is this portion going to be up my alley or not? And blah, blah, blah. But it is interesting because on like Rotten Tomatoes or something, I will look at the critics percentage and be like, okay, I'll see that or not. But then if it's the audience score, I'll be like, you guys are stupid. You guys like, audiences that like things that suck and hate things that are good. So I actually go like opposite. But like these reviews on Board Game Geek, it's all from fellow stupid people, right?
There's reviewers in there too. Yeah, there's reviewers in there too. I think.
Do they get a higher chunk of the pie, or
I don't think so.
know. I really don't know.
So it's mostly just stupid people.
Let's just say it's people.
Okay.
Some of them.
People liked the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League, so I don't know.
I haven't even seen that.
It never. The audience and the critic never match, and that's
true.
so interesting.
I tend to lean more toward the audience score usually if there's a contention between the two. In my experience,
really?
There's a lot of things. Well, I guess I don't pay that much attention, but I usually find that if I don't like it, I'll look and I'll see like, oh, okay, like no one liked this. But the critics I don't trust as much because like it's like I don't know. It's kind of what you were saying, Maxine, about the kind of the skewing of scoring. It's like everything is so top heavy.
Yeah, it is.
It's like when IGN was, back when like IGN and GameSpot were like the kings of video game reviews. They pretty quickly got to a point where, it's really only good if it's only really good if it's a 9. If it's an 8, then it's probably fine. 7, and anything less than a 7, you're like,
yeah.
But maybe that's just because there's so many games. I don't know, but it felt like everything was just so top heavy.
Yeah, it does get top heavy.
Maybe it's because we go through school and like we're graded on a scale of 100, and and like. What is a failing score, like 65 or lower or something like that?
It's lower now.
Is it lower now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like maybe that's just like ingrained in us.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, it is. That's a good point. All right, moving on. We gotta get to these listener questions, you guys.
We do.
So first question comes from Derek. What does each member of the team feel is their main strength? Is there anything each of you may have realized they were good at while working on the Earthborne Rangers product, something that surprised them? What are you laughing about?
I don't like this question at all. It makes me feel like I'm like interviewing for a job.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me about a time that you problem solved.
Oh,
that's true. That's hard. I have a follow-up question to this though. Like, is there a conflict you guys remember having between two of you that you resolved in a way that you feel proud of? I'm just kidding. That's just another one of those questions.
Yeah, it is one of those things. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like I personally feel like everyone at Earthborne is doing the thing that their main strength is, and that's kind of our main strength. But I don't know. Maybe this is a question better served for. I'm sure Fisher would have some sort of answer to this, but I don't. I feel like all I have is disdain for this question.
I'm pretty good at asking listener questions.
Well, I can answer
That's my strength.
So.
In a small way.
Yeah, go for it, Evan.
So in answering the second question, is there anything each may have realized they were good at while working at or on the Earthborne Rangers product? I was surprised to hear from you, Navarro, that I have a bit of a knack for writing, because I never really considered that at all. But you seem to, either you're being very nice and polite about the 2 articles I've written, but I never really considered that, and that was kind of cool to hear from you. So
yeah, well, you're welcome, because you're a very good writer.
Thanks.
I am not just blowing smoke. And there's a lot of the art briefs that you wrote as well, or like ended up being like just tiny little vignettes of stories that were incredibly evocative and really, really well done. So yeah, like I've said to you before, like I would love for you to, if you wanted at some point, to actually write some stuff for publication and something.
I do.
Like a little side quest or something like that. I think
that'd be
awesome.
fun. But yeah, it was cool to hear that from you, because I feel like I don't always. I think hearing me kind of trip and stumble over my words on the podcast, it makes me feel like I don't convey that. So I don't know.
Writing is not speaking.
Yeah, I know. Totally different part of the brain. But yeah.
Cool. Thanks for pulling through, Evan, with that answer.
Yeah, that was good. That was good.
Yeah.
Sorry, Derek. Sorry, I don't have a better answer for you. I don't want to.
Sorry, he crapped on your question too, Derek. I think it was fine. It was a fine question. But you got to admit, Derek, it does feel like an interview question. Next question comes from D. Cheds. Are there any newly announced or soon to be released board games that the team is excited about?
Oh,
so other games out there in the world, I'm assuming. Obviously.
I think I'm in a board game lull at the moment, actually. Frosthaven came out, and that was big for me for a little while. And then Kinfire Chronicles came out, and that was big for me for a little while. And now I've just been playing video games.
Any video games coming out that you're excited about?
I mean, I've been playing a lot of. Well, we'll get to that when we get to the end of the segment. Yeah.
That reminds me of, I think many episodes ago, Haley asked a question like, doesn't sound like you guys play board games or something.
Really?
Or like, because when we're talking about the things we're into, it's usually video games.
I know.
Yeah,
that's funny.
Yeah,
I've thought that myself.
Yeah, I've always been that way though. It's like I think it's when you're in the tabletop game industry, like I feel like it's hard to turn off the work brain when you're playing a board game. So it's like you're having fun, but at the same time, like there's some part of your brain that's analyzing it from a work perspective, at least for me. So I don't know. It's hard for me to get really excited about new things coming down the pipe. But I'm often curious to play things. I'm really curious to play the new leader game, the new Cole game, Arcs.
Arcs, yeah.
Yeah. I'm excited to try. I'd be excited to try that out. But I'm down here. So there's no games down here. I do want to play Sorcery very badly.
Sorcery's cool.
I have I ordered the 4-deck pre-constructed product, and that's just sitting back at home waiting.
Nice.
So yeah, I do want to play that very much.
Actually, there is one thing I just remembered. So Unicorn Overlord, the video game that one of the video games I've been playing lately, the collector's edition for that game came with a full-fledged card game.
Oh, wow.
That they developed just for the collector's edition of that game. You can't get it separately.
That's cool.
And it's pretty neat. It's like a deck building game, but it doesn't play like your usual deck building game where it's like, oh, you have 2 currencies and you fight each other, but you're also buying new cards. It's like you plan out like you put your cards out in a row and you deploy them one at a time, and the order in which you deploy them changes like the point total, and then the player with the most points wins that round. So it's almost more like a trick-taking game. It's
cool.
very interesting. I liked it a lot. I've only played it once, but it was cool.
Probably got really good art, I imagine.
It's got art taken right from the game. So
nice.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
They usually put those card games in the video game.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. And I also I dug that like they weren't trying to just recreate the experience of the video game in card game form. It was like its own thing.
Yeah.
It was cool.
Nice.
Awesome.
All right, next question. Oh, you got one, Evan?
Oh, I was just going to say, so one of the last products I worked on at FFG was before it went to AMG was Star Wars Legion. And I still follow Legion's development because I was really happy with that whole product line. I loved it and I loved being able to work on it. So I don't think I have the bandwidth to ever get back into it. and paint and all that stuff, but I love seeing like the new units come out. And I just recently heard that they're going to re-release a bunch of the old PVC molds in ABS. I'm not sure how many, but I think that's really cool. I love that idea. So
about time that's happening.
Yeah, I might just buy some units just for the hell of it.
I remember that was something that I proposed and had a plan for before I left.
Yeah,
was shifting everything over to ABS.
Yeah, that would have been. I wanted my fleet troopers in ABS.
I'm still waiting to be surprised by something. There must be something, but so far everything's been pretty much exactly the thing. Yeah, the only thing that surprised me so far was Twilight Inscription. That one I did not. That one I did not know. But everything else, it was all on the schedule.
All right. Next question comes from Machine Epsilon. With MJ joining the team, who will be writing the EBR campaign guide text going forward?
That is a good question. I think that Sam will probably still continue working on it if he wants to. But I think for sure Maxine will be writing a lot because she's a very good writer, and that's part of why like having her on board is so exciting, is because she's like, the full package.
Triple threat.
So yeah, I think you're welcome. So Maxine will be writing a lot of stuff going forward. I'll continue to write. So yeah, and edit. Like I do a lot of my writing in the editing pass, and do a lot of rewrites and stuff. So yeah, I'm going to continue to do that as well. So probably the three of us, I would imagine, or just the two of us. Again, we'll see what Sam's bandwidth is like.
Hey, what about Evan?
Yeah, Evan. Yeah, Evan's got a lot of other. He's going to have so much more to do in the next couple of years. That, like I said, doing some writing, I think, was definitely on the docket, but not a ton, because he's going to have a lot to do.
Yeah, that was one of the other big differences in workflow coming to Earthborne. I was surprised by how collaborative the process is here. So yeah, I suspect a lot of us will be contributing to the writing like together, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Next question from Robin Tapfield. For Maxine, what's the tonal shift like going from the dark and oppressive Arkham Horror to the optimistic and cozy Earthborne Rangers?
So that's the interesting thing about me, is I like both ends of that spectrum very much. Like, I'm really big into like dark, gritty horror, but I'm also really big into cozy, like Stardew Valley. And I read horror and I read romance, and I write horror and I write romance. Like I like both ends of that spectrum. So it is definitely a shift for sure. But it's kind of a shift into another gear that I'm already used to, and I'm already like, I don't know, like geared towards, I guess, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's great. And I think there's commonalities still between the two.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Still action adventure, still, trying to create atmosphere, especially like with the Legacy of the Ancestor stuff.
Yeah, the Legacy of the Ancestor stuff is definitely a lot more along those veins. It's a lot more, it feels more dangerous, a little bit more oppressive. It's still not like in the horror camp, but like there's a moodiness to it, I feel like.
Yeah. I think when you try to put yourself into that, like under this theoretical, like underground space, it's not, it's going to conjure different things in your imagination than when you're in the wide open spaces of the valley. So
yeah. And I mean, I've mentioned this before, I think on the last podcast episode, but like fighting giant centipedes in the dark underground is not too different in tone.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the difference is, in Earthborne, you might have to tangle with these things, but they'd never devour you and spill guts all over the place.
Right?
Yeah.
They don't obliterate your mind with some sort of, I don't know,
Yeah. Make you gouge out your eyes with your own hands.
Exactly. That's what I was trying to say.
I will say, though, the latter years at Fantasy Flight, I started getting some pushback and some of the body horror that I wanted to inject in I wanted it to be more gore, more blood. And there was definitely like a push to like kind of retreat from that a little bit and have it be a little bit more I don't know, kid friendly. And so I thought that was interesting.
Kid friendly horror.
Yeah.
All right. Next question's from Knave of Clubs. What causes the electric fog? Is it a natural phenomenon or some kind of shaper magic? Or perhaps electrified nanobots getting released from an arcology ruin?
Those are all cool ideas.
Yeah.
Knave of Clubs. So the electric fog is one of the is the expert level weather in the game. I'll just say that we should leave that unexplained for now, and maybe you might find out more about electric fog and perhaps a forthcoming expansion.
Electric fog.
Electric fog.
Electric fog is a cool band name.
Yeah, it is.
I'm just going to throw it out there.
It's also a really annoying dance that's played at every wedding.
Amazing.
Electric fog.
Classic.
Next question comes from Mirror. Where do the residents of the valley meet while wandering? Wait, what?
I tried to rewrite this because it was hard to read before.
Where do the residents of the valley
meets? So one, you meet.
While wandering, live. Where do the people you meet while wandering, where do they live? Why was it so hard?
Because it was hard. And
I was also reading live as live. Wandering live.
Yeah, he was doing the learned thing, which I like, of using one instead of you. A little more formal. So I tried to keep that in there, but I should have just changed it to you.
Where do the valley residents live? Such an easy sentence. I'm curious about the Voss family in particular, says Muir.
Yeah, so I think this is specifically, I think, referring to the Valley set. And I think everyone in there, you find out where they live, except for the Vosses. I think we're going to probably leave that open-ended for now until we find out a spot maybe where we feel like they should live. But I can say originally they were in the branch set. So when Brooks designed the Inquisitive Youth, which is what Quizzy Voss used to be, and her mother, they were just in branch, and you just did that quest there. But I really wanted this character, Quizzy, to be someone that was just always out getting into trouble all over the valley. And I remember Brooks saying, like, that's ridiculous. Like, who would let their little girl go and do this? I'm like, well, they would. Like, this is don't put your modern values on these people. They have a different lifestyle. So we moved her into the Valley set and haven't really looked back since. So I think I always kind of envisioned them as travelers. You know, I think that's Aura Voss's. I think that's her, like, after her subtitle. What would you call that? After the comma, her descriptor?
Her epithet? Is that the right word? I don't know if that's the right word or not.
To the dictionary.
Is that what you put on a gravestone? Or no?
That's an epitaph.
No, it's an epitaph.
Oh, epitaph. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, they're travelers. So they do kind of wander around. Were you right? Epithet?
Yeah, an adjective or descriptive phrase expressing a quality characteristic of the person or thing mentioned.
Well, let's go. Good job.
Actual writer.
Professional.
Yes.
So yeah, they move around a lot, I think, and I don't know if they really have a much of a permanent residence anywhere. They probably have like a place where they go back and crash every once in a while, or maybe they just stay with people on the road. But that's not really answered yet. So I think if the story requires it at some point, I think we might put them someplace. But for now, just imagine them as travelers, wanderers.
All right, Diches coming in again. Second question of the day. If each member of the EBG team got Jumanji'd into the last board game they played, not including Earthborne, what game are they stuck in, and how are you surviving when you're there?
Well, mine's easy because I just played this with my kids a couple days ago. It's Carcassonne. So that sounds all right. All right. Nice,
not bad.
French countryside. Just hang out in one of those little castles. Maybe in one of the cloisters, like a monk or something. Farming, eating cheese, drinking wine.
So that's how you're going to survive eating?
Sounds great.
Eating and hanging out?
Yep. Sleeping and eating and drinking.
Eating food.
Living life.
Drinking wine, drinking cheese.
That's right. I like how this question assumes that every game is like, you have to survive it. You know what I mean?
Well,
killed.
Yeah. I think that would probably be one of the most chill games to hang out in is Carcassonne.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I think the last board game or tabletop game that I played was that Unicorn Overlord card game. So I guess I am recruiting soldiers for a rebellion against an evil king, which just sounds pretty cool to me. I'm
sounds
into
dangerous.
it.
That sounds dangerous.
It sounds dangerous, but Unicorn Overlord is pretty lax in that department, I think. So, plus I played the game enough to know, I got it. I'm good. I'm gonna overthrow that king.
Nice.
Well, Megan and I played a couple of abstract party games with Corey and Patty recently, but they're too abstract, and I don't even want to think about how I would be Jumanji'd into such a setting. I guess one was kind of about fishing, but it was trick taking and stuff like that. But the more fun Jumanji situation for me would be Megan and I have been trying to get through the Hero Quest expansion, Return of the Lich King. So I think I would just get annihilated by an orc or a goblin or something. Even though they only have one hit point, I just don't think I'd have what it takes to take them out. So.
Well, didn't you role play last night?
Well, does that count? I mean,
I would think so.
Okay, well, in that case, I would same situation because the world that we're role playing in is very much like Fallout. So I would either get killed by a zombie or a mutant or a cyborg, or I'd at the very least get robbed of all my belongings. So, but I'd know where to go. So that'd be nice.
Yeah, I wonder in that Jumanji scenario is like Zach still DMing. Did you
oh my God.
appeal to him?
There's
just like this giant in the sky over the horizon, Zach's face.
There's a graphic novel called Die that is the plot. It's like a bunch of people get sucked into the RPG that they're playing, and including the game master. It's very cool. Anyway,
is the game master still in control in that scenario, and they just don't know it?
Yeah, they're still largely in control, and it's very interesting.
But they're pretending that they're not in control. That'd be I'm just
no. There's no. Well, yeah. I don't want to spoil anything.
How about you, Anders?
I think the last game I played was Arboretum.
Oh,
so be just a world of beautiful trees.
Nothing to eat.
I think there's some fruit trees. Nothing to eat, just trees.
Nothing to eat.
Just no ground.
Maybe eat some tree bark.
Well, that's your first. Nothing to eat.
Plenty of water, though, I would imagine.
True. Yeah, there's got to be. Yeah, I was gonna make it like Twister. Does that count?
Yeah, Twister. You are that you are Jumanji. That's the game. It's effectively
Yeah.
Like, how would it be different?
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Yeah.
I don't know. You're like in the weird white space with color
you're in like
circles.
You're in like a liminal like space of infinite whiteness, and then just like colored dots, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's the whole world.
Oh my god. Ugh. Do you float through the world?
It's like falling out of bounds in a video game.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Good question, D-Cheds. Glad you came back with another question. Next question is from Tobin. So you said you would love an EBG mountain retreat with wellness, hiking, gaming, etc.
I said that last episode.
Want it in the Rockies? Want it in the Rockies? I think there's a place, Colorado State University's mountain campus. It hosts all kinds of things and have various hiking trails, ropes courses, and space for games, talks, etc. https://mountaincampus.colostate.edu.
I saw this in the Discord and I clicked on that link, and it looks pretty cool. Like so I mentioned last episode that I've like this idea I had of doing a gaming / wellness retreat in the Rockies. I think that would be really cool. We just need someone to organize it. So I think that sounds awesome. And I looked at that space and it does look pretty sweet. Yeah, it's got kind of like since it's a university, obviously, so it's got a very academic kind of classroom vibe to the rooms. But it seemed cool. I think ideally, if we were to do such a thing, I think I'd want to do it in Estes Park, which is where the valley is, like literally right there. So I think that'd be perfect. Yeah, there are some pretty cool places there, like the Shining Hotel. We could do it at the Shining Hotel.
Ooh, I would love that.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah. So anyway, that's on the idea board for sure of things to do. But I think that'd be pretty awesome. Yeah, and I feel like there's some people on the Discord who I would who I'd expect and hope, and if they did not come, I'd be very disappointed. So I think we'd at least get a couple people to show up.
Yes. All right, next question comes from Barry. For Moments on the Path and Stewards of the Valley, will there be any instructions inside those packages how to implement those add-ons into gameplay and when?
So Barry, I on the Discord I've learned he's just starting the podcast, and like he's like on episode like 15 or something like that at the time of this writing. So he was like, eventually I'll get to this. Of course, the answer is of course. Like, whoa, I don't know.
Yeah.
It seems like what games are you playing that you're just getting components and they don't tell you how to incorporate them? Maybe they're out there. I don't know. But we've come up in the world where we are hopefully very exhaustive in how we explain how you incorporate your expansions into your existing products. So yes, those will all have little inserts with rules. I guess we didn't say anything in the Gamefound campaign about they come with a rules sheet. But they'll come with a rules sheet.
I liked Barry's other question, but we'll save that.
Yeah, we got to save that one because it's very Fisher focused.
It's funny though.
It is funny.
It's funny. I want to read it now.
Yeah, gotta wait.
Okay. All right. Final question comes from The Yak Lives. Which is more challenging, dreaming up the weird future technology as a designer or creating the art for the weird future technology as an artist? And has there ever been a disconnect between preliminary art and what the designer had in mind? And if so, how was the discordance resolved? Wow. Another kind of like an interview question in a way.
Yeah, well, I think like it's been very collaborative. But a lot of the kind of the future tech stuff was a lot of stuff that Sam Gregor-Stewart wrote up after we did our initial setting planning mission meetings. So he and I talked about some things, and then he went off and he wrote a bunch of stuff, and then we've refined and made changes to those ideas. Sam, you being a veteran RPG writer is very, very used to creating things, objects, instruments, weapons, being very creative about technology, working on Star Wars and Warhammer 40K and all that stuff. So I think he just drew on that well of experience and then came up with a bunch of stuff, and then researched existing technologies and tried to extrapolate ideas out from that. So that's where a lot of the tech and that informed the core set at least came from. But I think it's pretty. I don't know. I think it's pretty easy just to imagine like, oh, it's a device that does this thing. I think it's much more challenging to try to like come up with a way of representing that visually in an interesting way.
Yeah, I think especially with things like memlev tech that would be easily described in their functionality in a video or in a movie. It's hard to convey that with just a small piece of art, static art.
Well, I mean, the memlev tech didn't exist until we made the art.
Yeah.
Like when I saw it, I was like, okay, well, this is just because when I saw like the multi-color, because all it was like it was adaptable multi-tool, like that was the name of the card. Before you did the illustration, because I think you did that one yourself, right? That was all you. Like you didn't pull from Joe's stuff for that, I think.
Yeah, Joe had like a thing that we could have used for adaptable multi-tool, but
That's
I
right.
can't remember why we didn't go that direction.
Because what you did was cool. Was why.
Well, his thing was cool too.
It was cool. Well, I think we ended up using that for something else. But that's a perfect example of like the art informing the technology. So as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, it's like I just knew how that technology worked, and then just wrote up a little thing about, oh yeah, it adopts these forms. It can memorize the shape and pattern that it's in. And then like you can lock it into place, and you can make new forms, and then you can make it remember that by doing something. And then we ended up applying that to a bunch of other pieces of technology. So yeah, I guess that was easy because you just kind of made that and it looked cool, and then we just turned it into a technology.
That is the fun part of the art and the art side of developing the technology. Is sometimes you just strike on something that's cool, kind of like when they were filming Star Wars, there's just a bunch of people slapping together World War II tank model kits to make like the ships, and they became like iconic things,
Yeah.
I just love that so much. And funnily enough, like one funny like tidbit of insider info, I guess you could call it, is that kind of goes in line with the one part of this question about there being like a discordance between expectation and what the art is. And one funny example is the the location art for the Concorded Ziggurat. That the shape of that building is based off of like what I thought a energy cell would look like a handheld energy cell. So the top part of the Concorded Ziggurat has this unique shape because that, in my mind, was the handle of a power cell that you lug around. And when Andrew saw the sketch of it, he thought it was a building. But when I made the sketch,
I knew what it was, but I thought it would be cool as a building.
Yeah. But that's so funny. I love that. So I should share that sketch. The original sketch of the Concorded Ziggurat was actually just a little thing that I was imagining people would lug around like a bowling ball bag sized thing. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, and I feel like the functional replica, that used to be something else as well. Like that used to be like a universal power cell, I think, and then we ended up
Yep.
making that into a much smaller thing.
Yeah. because I
for
was
the
stuck on
attachment.
this idea of the power cells being larger, and then one day you told me I always saw the power cells as like a little card, and
Yeah.
I was like, I never thought of it that way. I just was thinking these big clunky things. Yeah,
mostly because they were, they represent charges often. So I felt like, you didn't want to have like,
yeah.
I guess you could have like a whole like shoulder pack full of these gigantic things, but
this huge battery only has 2 charges in it.
Exactly.
I got 2 uses out of this thing. Better be worth it.
Well, thanks for your questions, everyone. Keep them coming.
Yes, please.
That brings us to Anders Indie Game Corner. There hasn't been a lot of indie video games that I've been excited about lately. If you guys have some listeners, if you have some to suggest, send them my way. But I did play this game from Devolver, which is one of the bigger indie game publishers, if you could even call them indie anymore. I don't know. They're pretty large. But they just released a game called Pepper Grinder, and it's a pixel art 2D platformer with this gimmick where the main character has this big drill that she holds, and you can kind of burrow your way through the environment, and it feels a lot like if you've played the Ori games, where you can kind of, in the second one, you can kind of like dig into dirt and kind of like go around and shoot out of it and stuff. And it's just it's a really charming little game. I think it's like 3 hours long, 3 or 4 hours to play, and like a good Nintendo platformer, it like iterates on an idea just long enough, and then it goes on to the next one, and so it just feels fun. It's just level based. Beat the level, go to the next level. Feels comforting, and I like the art style and good music, good animation. I recommend it.
Have you played Pixel Junk Shooter?
No.
I love Pixel Junk Shooter.
This reminds me a lot of that.
Pixel Junk Shooter.
There's a bunch of Pixel Junk games, and they're all really fun.
They are really cool. I enjoy them a lot. The Pixel Junk Eden is probably my favorite one.
That's a good one too.
I love that one. The art style's amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like it's kind of like this, where you're like, it's side scrolling. You pilot a little spaceship, kind of in Defender style. You're going around and like rescuing little workers. It's like it's like physics liquid based.
Cool.
So like you're combining elements. So you have like water and lava, and they create steam. And
Neat.
you have to use those tools to help solve the puzzles of the level and save as many dudes as possible without them getting killed by the lava.
Oh yeah, sounds addicting.
It's fun.
I like the looks of that.
Anders, have you heard of a game called Normal Fishing?
No. Are you thinking of Ridiculous Fishing?
No, it's literally called Normal Fishing.
Okay.
Is it a response to Ridiculous Fishing?
It's only a demo right now. It's still in development. But I watched a playthrough of it. It's just a perfectly normal game about fishing. Definitely just a normal game. Nothing weird happens at all.
Oh yeah, I think I've heard about this. Yeah,
it's so cool.
It's just a demo right now.
It's just a demo right now. Oh. Yeah, but it looks
the
good.
People
it's really cool.
The screenshots are very creepy.
It's so cool. Like, it's my new obsession.
Nice.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna check it out. Did this person do anything else? The Borg? No. Sweet. I'm gonna check that out. Putting it on my wish list. Cool. Yeah, and this game is made by one person as well. And also been playing a lot of Balatro still. I really like Balatro. It's just an addiction for me now. I don't even know if I'd recommend it anymore. I reached this point in a game where I'm like, do I actually
save me from Balatro?
Like, is it like, once a game is just kind of addictive in that way, I start to question if it's actually good. You know what I mean? Or it just taps into some little primal part of our brain, and it's tricking me into thinking it's fun when it's just an addiction. I don't know.
Oh yeah, I know.
Or maybe it means it's really good. I don't know. Because I think the natural instinct is to assume it's really good if you want to play it that much. I kind of go the opposite.
What no one wants to admit is that's pretty much every game.
Yeah, it taps into some like
you can feel that way.
Reward and build up and reward and yeah, for sure.
Every video game, I mean.
Video games only do that. It's the only kind of game.
Of course.
Oh, I also played video roulette at the casino.
How did you do?
I got
video roulette. How unsatisfying is that?
I loved it because the casino. The reason I went there is because I was with my sisters and mom at the Twins game, and they have this Treasure Island giant wheel you can spin, and you win like free money to gamble with. And my sisters won a bunch, so we went there directly after the Twins game, and they were all playing these slot machines that are just like. It's like dopamine food, It's just like bang, 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 bang. And then I found the little video roulette machine in the corner. It's all quiet and boring. It looks all from the 90s. And it was so peaceful. And you could just kind of like choose which, I'm going to do black and I'm going to bet on this number. It was actually
Is
really
it a
fun.
screen in front of you? Is it on a table so it simulates roulette or?
Yeah, I've played ones where it's like a video screen on a table.
Uh-huh.
And I've played real roulette too. But this one was like in front. It was like kind of up, like on a, It was fun. I loved it.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. It sounds completely degenerate to me.
Yeah, I doubled my money. I like it better than if there was the guy there. I'd rather just play against the computer.
You don't want that person there judging you.
Right, exactly.
Some modern
well, I can bet on all kinds of things. I can like bet on like 50% chance this number, 50 that number. And I would feel weird doing that every spin,
Yeah, but you can do that though on a real roulette table too, right? I mean,
you can,
those are
but
all
I just
legit.
want to sit there like plopping my chips all over the place.
Yeah.
Because this one you can just like repeat your bet over and over again.
Gotcha.
And I doubled my money and then I lost all my money. So
that's how it goes.
It was great.
Yeah.
It was great. Exactly what I wanted to do.
Yeah, if you would have stuck out a little bit longer, you would have doubled your money again. But
that's right. That's how it works.
So
I would double my zero. What are you saying?
Well, no, you just access your bank account through the video slot machine and add more credits.
Do they let you do that now? That's crazy.
I saw a video of someone doing that. They were like able to withdraw money from a bank account.
It's right there on.
That's a recipe for disaster.
Isn't that spooky?
Yeah,
it's a sad place. I don't like going there. Once every 5 years, I think, is my limit.
That's healthy.
Yeah, thank you. That's it. And then, Evan, how about you? What are you into?
Well,
anything?
I can finally talk about this game. It seems like it's been forever, but I've been only playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth since like February 29th, the leap year when it came out. When I have time, and I beat it, and now I'm playing through again on hard mode. And I'm not going to try to get the platinum thing where you do everything you can do, because that's just too maddening. But I'm really enjoying the game still, and I was, when I first started playing it, I was concerned that because the battle system I loved so much from the first one remake I thought was so great, and they added more stuff to it that I just thought was tacked on initially and annoying because I didn't know what to do with it. But they added some like synergy capabilities where you can kind of synergize with like your other your companions and do like these cool attacks, kind of like Chrono Trigger, if anyone's ever played that game.
Chrono Trigger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, where you have these team attacks that you can coordinate. So they do something like that, and I just didn't like doing it because it was a new thing, and then when I just started learning how it worked and the benefits of doing it, it really opened up the battle system even more. And I think my favorite thing about the game is just the battle system, because it's like live. It's not turn-based like traditional JRPGs, but you're still issuing commands and you have to really coordinate how it works. And each enemy has their own sort of profile that discloses their kind of weaknesses and what sort of attacks they do and when. And if you are able to study them and like figure out what weakens them, you can really capitalize on with like coordinated actions, how to like take advantage of their weaknesses and just like drop a bunch of damage, and it's very satisfying to pull off. But the game is also cheap as hell, like especially when you play through on hard mode. All the bosses have like a cheap move that they pull that you don't know about. It just pisses you off so much. Anyways, aside from the combat, I think they took a lot of cues from contemporary like open world RPGs like that. Now I'm spacing on the name. The main character's name is Alloy. What is it? Something Horizon?
Aloy. Yeah, Horizon. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think they took a lot of inspiration from that game, even though I haven't played it, but I've heard folks comparing the two. And
that's cool.
So like the world is divided into these huge, robust regions with all their own side quests and stuff. I'm sure that's what everyone's used to, but I just don't play as many games, so it's kind of all new and exciting to me. The story was kind of linear because they were just taking the middle part of the game, the original game, and extrapolating on it. But they filled in a lot of cool like character building moments that really pays off at the end in a it's kind of weirdly disappointing way. Like you spend the whole game developing these deep connections with your like companions, but then the way the game ends on such a somber note, you feel like the main character really screwed up a lot, and like, I don't know, it just had like a strong effect. And the game ends on a like key moment in the original, this infamous moment where something happens that's big, and the way they do it again is really weird, and it makes you feel really bad because they somehow make it worse, even though you don't think they could make it worse. So it's a lot like Empire Strikes Back, where it ends on a really somber note, but it was really good too. The only weird thing was, well, there's a lot of weird things, but one of the weird things is it's such a emotional game, but in between these emotional moments, they just have the goofiest stuff that happens that just ruins the mood. Like
what?
Well, so there's this one formative moment with a character who has to confront a friend who they thought was dead, and then they fight, and they have these words after the fight, and one of them dies. And then right after that, the zaniest villains shows up in like a frog robot mech and just starts hopping around and is like trying to kill everybody, and it doesn't even feel real when it's happening. Like, what? And you're being chased by him across the desert, and the characters are driving this goofy all-terrain vehicle.
I can't wait to fight Frogback.
Yeah. Anyways, I loved it, and I'm still playing it. And when the third one comes out in 10 years, I'm going to feel profound emptiness when I beat it, because it'll all be over.
It won't be
that long.
No, it'll be like 3 years.
Yeah.
They'll probably split it into multiple games, and then it'll just be like Final Fantasy VII subtitle now until the end of time.
Yeah, they have like a cash cow, so I'm sure they're going to continue building off of it.
Milking it.
They would never do that. Especially these guys. Final Fantasy, it's right there in the name. Done.
Yeah.
It's the final one.
It's never the final one. Yeah.
Cool. How about Maxine? What have you been into?
I've just been doing a lot of writing in my spare time recently. Trying to kind of get back into the groove of that. And I did download this, it's on Steam. I hesitate to call it a game because it's not really a game. It's more of like a productivity tool. But it's, like on YouTube, the like lo-fi girl listening to music and like you can just study along with it, or like, she's like doing homework or something.
Lo-fi beats to study to.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's that in a more gamified form where you can customize the character and you can customize what they're doing, where they're sitting, the layout, the decorations of the house, and like the songs that it has its own playlist, and like it has like built-in little productivity tools like a calendar and a timer, so you can be like, I'm gonna do 30-minute sessions with 15-minute breaks, and you can just click it, and then I just have that up on this monitor, and I'm writing on this monitor, and it's great.
Cool.
Like, it's been really cool. So I super dig it. It's called Spirit City Lo-Fi Sessions. If anyone's interested. But yeah, it's not really like a game. Like, you don't play it. You just kind of have it on, and then you do something else. But it's cool.
It's a clever idea.
Yeah.
Why didn't I think of that?
Right?
Yeah. Is there a lot of options for like your decorations and stuff, or is it kind of limited?
It's in, I think, early access, and it like just came out like last week. So it's a bit limited in its options, but they're going to be adding more things. Like they have their own Discord where they're sharing some of the new things that they're adding. So it's definitely like going to grow in potential.
They've taken this early access too far. Why would you need that for that? We're really gathering your feedback on what kind of posters there should be on the wall.
I think it's more a way to like start getting some return on your investment.
Yeah.
Before it's fully done. Yeah.
Yes.
That's what I don't like about it.
Yeah.
But I don't care. All right.
It sure sounds like you care a little bit.
It does.
Sometimes I start talking and I'm like, I don't even care about what I'm saying.
That's awesome.
I think it's like a relic of my past, where like when you're younger, when you're in your 20s, like having opinions about things is really like what shapes your personality.
Yeah.
And these days, like when someone wants to argue, like, well, you like that musical artist? They suck. I'm like, okay, fine.
Yeah.
You can think they suck. I like them. Whatever. I'm not going to argue with you about that.
My brother thinks Resident Evil 4 is mid, and I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like, what? But yeah, you just have to be like, all right, it's weird. Sure.
That's a weird opinion. That's what I'm going to say.
With
that. Good luck finding friends with that opinion.
Yeah. I think the word mid is mid. How about that?
There you go.
Yeah. I think you're mid. That's what I should say to him.
Yeah, that's right. There you go. Keep the discourse nice and high.
It's my brother. It's fine.
Yeah. All right. Our final segment. It's what is Andrew into?
Yeah. So, I neglected to share. Nope, that's not what I want. I'm going to try to. I need to share my screen. Because we forgot to talk about Daughter of Solar J.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Finished her poster on the Terravore.
Oh
yeah, so cool.
Cute.
And I thought this was absolutely incredible. It's a really great read. So make sure to screen cap this and read all about the Terravore from Daughter of Solar J's perspective.
What a smart kid.
Yeah, it was really, really creative.
How old is she?
11.
Oh my god, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's so cool.
Yeah, my only piece of feedback is I want more images. A little bit too much text to image ratio, but it's all really, really good stuff. So each of these little sections here is like a little self-contained blurb. But I thought this was great. So thank you for sharing this, Solar J. You should be very proud. This was awesome. And I look forward to seeing her poster about the Tenebra when she's ready to make it.
That's so cute. Cool. That is so cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. But apart from the Terravore poster, I watched the Fallout TV show on Amazon, and I thought it was pretty good. I think the opening moments of that series were really awesome. I think it definitely more than one-ups the opening of Fallout 4, which I thought was also pretty good. As far as the intensity level of the moments that the bombs drop in the Fallout universe, it was pretty stunning. And after that, I was kind of like so on it for a couple episodes, but it was enough to kind of keep me going. And then I think it got pretty good by the end. I know that it seems like it's a show that some people really, really go back to your Rotten Tomatoes discussion. I think it's something that some people like really don't like for some reasons, because it is kind of fast and loose with some of the
timeline
established lore, and has some implications for some of the games that people don't necessarily like after I looked into it a little bit more. But as someone who has played hundreds of hours of Fallout, like, it didn't really leap out to me as like, oh, that's a problem. But apparently there's some timeline problem things in it. But I thought as like an adaptation of a Fallout video game show version of that, I thought it was pretty good. I thought it took the story from Fallout 4 and the story from Fallout 3, and it mashed them together and made a pretty good Fallout video game story that you could watch instead of play.
Yeah.
And there's a character in there, Maximus, who's like he's like a Brotherhood of Steel, low-level Brotherhood of Steel guy who ends up going on an adventure. I thought his story, interestingly, I thought was the actor kind of reminded me of like a low-rent John Boyega. Though I don't know how much John Boyega costs these days, but it was very like the casting seemed very similar. They had like almost identical haircuts, like him and his and Finn's character from Star Wars, and they had very, very similar stories. But I think they did in Fallout. I think they did a Finn story that was far superior to the Finn story in Star Wars. In the sequels, his character's far more believable in Fallout, and the way that he perceives the world. He's very naive and is very charming. Whereas I thought Finn was just kind of irritating for most of the movie and not particularly likable or interesting. He's just far more interesting, and I think it really, really felt to me that because there's a lot of beats that felt kind of similar, where I felt like they kind of looked at the Star Wars movies and they're like, we could tell that story better. And then they went and they did. So if you're looking for a better story for a kid who grew up in some kind of weird fascist regime and then finds himself on the outside of it suddenly and then is experiencing the world and what that might be like, it is far more interesting in Fallout than it was in Star Wars, where it's like, that didn't even matter. That didn't even factor into his story at all. At all. So yeah, I thought it was fun. So I personally would recommend it. I enjoyed it. If you like Fallout video games, have you, like, Evan, you said that you started watching it, but you have not played any of the games?
Yeah, I'm on episode 2, and I haven't played any of the games, which is surprising because I worked on the Fallout board game at FFG.
Yeah,
but I like the setting. I was playing Skyrim too much or something.
Yeah. Are you enjoying it so far? 2 episodes in, or is it?
Yeah.
Is it?
I thought maybe it's just because I'm getting older, but I thought that this episode 2 was just had so much violence. It was just so much gore, and I'm like, I used to love like gory horror movies, but now I'm just like, oh my god.
I'm the same way. I've changed. Yeah. I don't know why. What's that about?
I don't know, but it's
getting older. You got kids. You care about things now.
That's
I care about people now.
But I'm gonna play the Fallout games. Like, I was just talking with my RPG group last night about the series, and I think I'm gonna jump into like the first game. The one from the 90s or whatever.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
I remember seeing that on the shelves at like Electronics Boutique, which doesn't exist anymore, and I always thought about getting it, and never did. So
yeah, Yeah. I was the same way. I played Baldur's Gate at the time. It came out pretty much the same time as the original Baldur's Gate. So I played a different kind of top-down CRPG, Arcanum.
I know Arcanum.
Yeah, which I think is pretty well regarded, but I think at the time when it first came out, it was kind of buggy and janky. So it kind of put me off, and I was like, because it looked kind of like Baldur's Gate, but didn't play anything like it. So it made me nervous to try Fallout because it also looked similar mechanically. But I played Fallout, the original, for a little while, after I played Fallout 3, and I really liked it. It was really, really good. I think you're going to really enjoy it.
Were you ever did you ever play those Crusader games? Crusader No Regrets and Crusader
No Remorse.
Remorse, yeah. I was drawn by the allure of how cool that Boba Fett looking character looked on the cover, and it wasn't a great game. And I think if I didn't choose that, I would have gone with Fallout. But I ended up going with Crusader, and it was an okay game.
Yeah. And the other thing I've been into showed up in my YouTube feed, and I ended up clicking on it and then kind of going down the rabbit hole on it, is a channel called Drumeo. Have any of you heard of Drumeo?
No.
So maybe. I almost sent this to you, Anders, because I was like, Anders, he'd get into this.
Okay.
It's so they're a company that sells drum tutorial software. And teaches you how to play, effectively gives you notations and tablature for, I guess I would call it tablature, whatever you call it, gives you the sheet music for all sorts of different songs that you can learn the drums for. And it gives you drumless tracks that you can play along with. But on their channel, they have this fun series where they have these fun interviews where they get a drummer to come in, they do an interview with them, they'll do a live stream. They'll go through some of their techniques, and they'll do a bunch of tutorial videos on this is how I do these fills. These are some of my favorite things. And
did they have one with Chad Smith?
They did, yeah.
Yeah, okay, I've seen this, yeah.
But they have this really the ones that I like the most are they'll play a drumless version of a song for a drummer, and they've never heard it before, and then they'll come up with a drum part for that song.
That's cool.
So you get to watch them just listening. They make their little notes, and then they do a take or two or just one. Just phenomenally talented drummers, and you get to watch them make up a drum part for this song they've never heard before. You get to listen to the song with their drum part from beginning to end, and then after they play their drum part, then they go back and they listen to the original and then comment on that.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. There's a really great one. I think my favorite one is that I saw was Mike Portnoy from Dream Theater listening to a Nickelback song, and then doing a doing one take, playing along to it, and it was so good. It's probably the best Nickelback song ever done. And he even messes up in the middle of it. Messes up. He kind of pauses for just a second and then immediately picks it back up. So cool. If you
awesome.
if you enjoy drumming and drummers and appreciate drumming, I highly recommend it. It is really, really fun. So that's the other thing I've been into.
I love drumming videos. I do.
Yeah, well, they would love this channel because it is awesome.
I'll watch more. Yeah, I watched the one. Yeah, I've watched some of that stuff. Anywho, thanks for joining us, everybody. That's our show. Thank you guys. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, thank you. I'm glad to see you again, Anders. I feel like it's been a long time. Glad you're back.
It has been a long time. I'm glad to be back. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time on the Earthborne Games Podcast.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Bye.